This episode of One Hit Thunder is brought to you by DistroKid. Christian Bale was preparing for his role in American Psycho, dressing the part, hitting the gym, getting his teeth redone. There was just one problem. He didn't actually have the part. Leonardo DiCaprio did. What Went Wrong is a podcast dedicated to the idea that every movie is a miracle. Join Lizzie Bassett and Chris Winterbauer every other week as they unearth the chaos and humanity behind Hollywood's biggest flops and most shocking successes. They aren't here to dunk on your favorite films. They're here to celebrate movies. As the New York Times said, they're movie industry people who truly love films and the people who make them. Listen to What Went Wrong wherever you get your podcasts. Hey there, One Hit Thunder listeners. Are you ready to take your music to the next level? Well, get ready to rock because this episode is brought to you by DistroKid, the ultimate digital music distribution service for artists like you. With DistroKid, you can easily upload your songs or albums to online stores and streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music, reaching fans all around the globe. But that's just the beginning. DistroKid offers a ton of awesome features like Hyperfollow, which helps you promote your releases and get pre-saves on your songs, all for free. But wait, there's more. The DistroKid app is now available on iOS and Android. With the app, you can manage your releases, track your streaming stats, and even withdraw your earnings, all from the palm of your hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. This powerful tool allows you to put the finishing touches on your tracks in minutes, ensuring they sound polished and professional every time. But that's not all. DistroKid has just launched a brand new feature called Instant Share, allowing you to easily share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more. With Instant Share, you can keep your music streaming at the highest quality while making the best impression possible. So what are you waiting for? Elevate your music career today with DistroKid and unlock a world of possibilities. Possibilities that I know all about because I've been using DistroKid for years. It's seriously great. If you haven't used it before, you're going to love it. And One Hit Thunder listeners get an exclusive offer, 30% off your first year with DistroKid by signing up at distrokid.com/VIP/OneHitThunder. That's distrokid.com/VIP/OneHitThunder. This week, we're joined by John Lewis of the Dopamines to dive into Faith No More's explosive 1990 hit, Epic. While it might seem wild to label anything connected to the prolific Mike Patton as a one-hit wonder, Epic remains their only Hot 100 crossover, landing in the top 10 and cementing their place in rock history. We explore the band's evolution, the creative dynamics that shaped their sound, and the hilarious rivalry with Anthony Kiedis. Along the way, we touch on Mike Patton's many musical ventures, the quirks of Faith No More's early years, and the legacy of a band that redefined alternative rock. Is Epic a thunderous triumph or a blunder in disguise? We'll answer the age-old question, what is it, in this episode?
One hit is all you need to make the money guaranteed, and you can live off royalties forever. And it makes me wonder, is it just a wonder, or is it one hit thunder?
So, John, welcome to the show. You are one of the, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 people who have done both Krista Makes a Podcast and One Hit Thunder. So we welcome you. And you brought a serious, I would have never thought in 5 years of doing this podcast that we'd be doing a Faith No More episode, but it makes sense because Epic is their only true hit.
Yeah, technically speaking, yes. Epic is their only true hit. But that's why I was so excited when I saw the list, because as soon as I saw that song, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Right. We could do Epic by Faith No More. Holy shit. Because it's like you have to tread lightly with Faith No More, because when you think about Mike Patton as an artist and as a collaborator, he has a very long and I'll say entertaining history, like even leading up to today, the projects he does today. I'm a huge Mike Patton fan, so
wow.
So it's like you gotta tread. It's like one of those things where you're like, all right, we gotta tread lightly because there is a lot of diehard, hardcore Mike Patton fans of just him. So when you go back to Faith No More, as just to your point, as a true one, like their biggest hit was Epic. Not a ton of hits after that, at least not in America. So it's like, oh man, this is gonna be awesome.
It's shocking that it even went to number 9. I can't believe it even went that high, even because I think of it as an MTV hit. I think of the flopping fish music video.
Oh, absolutely.
I think of the boxing gloves, but the fact that this made it into the top 10 is wild. And of course, look, I'm a Mike Patton fan too. And this is the biggest thing Mike Patton has ever done.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think everything I love about him now is probably would be considered a bit under the radar, depending on what your favorite genres are.
Absolutely.
So this is my favorite part of when we do these like early 90s artists, which is what was the song that Matt discovered the band from? Because it wasn't Epic. Because I was late to discovering music until the mid to late 90s. I actually first heard of Faith No More when they were promoting Album of the Year with that Last Cup of Sorrow music video that would play on MTV that was inspired by Vertigo. And I was like, who is this crazy band? And then I'm sure on like a countdown they had like Epic on like the 100 greatest videos of all time list or something. And I'm like, oh, this song rules. And like went all in from there. But yeah, I was very late to discovering the song. I think I knew it from the X Games Volume 1 soundtrack.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure Epic was on that.
I have a very similar trajectory on discovering Faith No More. I was even later than you. I didn't really start giving a shit about music until the early 2000s. And I knew this song just because it was ubiquitous. If the radio was on some sort of metal hard rock station, this song was on rotation at some point in a 24-hour period, even still today. So it was always a song I knew of. And then it wasn't until I started getting into some of Mike Patton's side projects that I went backwards and did like a reverse rabbit hole and found an appreciation for Faith No More.
Wow, I have a completely different story than you guys. I love this song when it came out, so much so that I bought the cassette single of the song and then had The Real Thing, which is the album this was on, and loved Falling to Pieces, which that song only went to number 92 on the charts, but it was another one that had like a video on MTV. And I do believe that Epic was the first like hard rock song I liked. Before that, it was New Kids on the Block and Debbie Gibson and Tiffany, and I was a little kid. And this was just this guy with the boxing gloves on TV in this like rockin' song. And I think it might be the first hard rock song I ever liked. And so that's
awesome.
That's 1990. I'm 10 years old when this comes out. And I was shocked. What I didn't know was Faith No More started in like 1979.
Yeah,
So
I saw that too.
I knew a little bit about this because of Rock Band 2 that had We Care a Lot as one of the songs in Rock Band 2. And I was like, this does not sound like Faith No More. And that's when I did the deep dive and was like, oh, they were like a totally different type of band.
Oh, yeah.
Until 1990. Like night and day kind of bands, honestly.
It's hard to think that there was a Faith No More without Mike Patton. There was this guy, Chuck Mosley, who apparently was a real handful. But they did have this song, We Care a Lot, which we all know this We Care a Lot song, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the same way that I know Epic is that song is ubiquitous. That song sounds like it's been in every Kevin Smith movie trailer.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Which I think it has been in at least one or two.
It's definitely of that era of Kevin Smith caring about 80s rock music. I want to go through a few of the things that they went through before they got Chuck in the band. I read that they would just play with various vocalists, and at one point Courtney Love was the vocalist for Faith No More for a very
What?
brief stint in the early 80s. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't
didn't
even
know
want to
that.
think about what that would sound like.
Yeah, probably
I mean,
wasn't
nothing
great.
against Courtney Love, but
Well, they were Sharp Young Men was their original name when they formed
Right.
in 1979 before they changed it to Faith No Man, and then that became Faith No More. But yeah, they had this We Care a Lot song that Slash Records in LA signed them, put it out. It had this big MTV success. And then, as you said, Chris, their vocalist Chuck, his behavior became quite the problem during the tour. It included that he punched out their bassist Billy on stage. At the release party, he fell asleep on stage while they were doing the release party for the album. And then one of his roadies got into a fist fight with other members of the band. And then he was eventually fired when they got home from this big European tour. And Chris, I hinted at this a little bit when we did last week's episode on One and Rome. But according to the bassist Billy Gould, I think is how that's pronounced, the Gould, he seems to be like
Billy
the
Gould,
band
yeah.
historian. There's so many quotes from him specifically. But he said, there was a certain point when I went to rehearsal and Chuck decided that the band should be all acoustic guitar. And that was just so far off the mark of what we did. So I got up and I walked out and I quit the band and I said, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. This is too much. The same day I happened to talk to Borden, our drummer, and he said, you know what? I think I still want to play with you. So he quit too. And then our guitarist Bottom did the same thing. And it was kind of one of those, we fired someone without actually having to fire them.
Wow.
Like
That is such a funny way to kick somebody out of the band. Everybody else quits and then starts.
I like that method because I've had to do that in the past and been pretty direct and honest. And killing the messenger is a real thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was great news for Mike Patton.
Oh, yeah. Who I didn't realize that Mr. Bungle existed even that early. We're talking like 1986 or something they were around, but Mike Patton joined the band in 1988 because he was singing with I didn't realize this, his high school band, Mr. Bungle, and he had met the guys in Faith No More in 1986 at a pizza parlor in his hometown of Eureka, California. Now, John, have you played at any pizza parlors in your day? Because I definitely have.
I have. It was called Big Pappy's. It was in Clifton, which is just kind of just north of Cincinnati in the college area. It was called Big Pappy's. It was I think it was an old Burger King, and it had 2 floors, and it was just, some entrepreneurs just took over the space and started making huge New York style pizza slices and like these amazing cookies that they would sell. And they'd have shows upstairs. And the only way to get gear upstairs, which was from an emergency like fire escape, those like rickety metal stairs that like have the counterweight to bring them down.
Yep.
It was that, like something akin to that was the only really narrow, really dangerous set of stairs to go up a whole story with cabs and heads. But yeah, I have played at a pizza parlor multiple times.
We had a lot of coffee shops with that exact setup that you're describing, John, where I'm at. Like there was a lot of the coffee shops downstairs and then they had a venue above it, but you had to go up the emergency exit staircase to load into the venue.
Yes.
John, did you ever play at Jerry's Pizza in Bakersfield, California?
I don't know. I think Bakersfield. We played with the Maxis in Bakersfield and someone else. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if it was.
I ask
there.
about that place because it's like, I don't know, it's just a basement of a pizza place, but I think we played there. We definitely played there once, maybe twice. It was one of those places when you're doing your first tours you play, but famously it's like Weezer. It was like the spot where Weezer would always play. There are like pictures of Weezer on the wall and stuff. So that was always their claim to fame at Jerry's Pizza. But yeah, definitely know all about the pizza parlor shows. But this was his hometown of Eureka, California. And this just goes to show you the power of Mike Patton. 2 weeks after he joined Faith No More, he had written all the lyrics to the songs that made up the Grammy-nominated The Real Thing album, which was then released in June 1989. Of course, this is the album with Epic on it.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking. Mike Patton has to be in the conversation for one of the hardest working, prolific musicians out there. Just the sheer amount of bands that he juggles at the same time throughout almost his entire career is. He's a regular Chris Fafalios in that way.
Wow, thanks. Are you saying that I'm like Mike Patton? That's the ultimate compliment you can give me, because I think, John, you're a Mike Patton fan. You might agree. I think Mike Patton has to be one of the coolest motherfuckers who ever walked this earth.
Oh, absolutely. Marches to the beat of his own drum. Absolutely. In a way, to a fault, which, I think might tie back into kind of the drop off in popularity of Faith No More. It certainly has something to do with it. His known hatred of the music industry, I think, played a part in the trajectory of Faith No More from the beginning.
Sure. And is he wrong?
No, he's not at all. Which is why he's such a badass.
While we're talking about how awesome Mike is, I feel like this point in the story, Epic is written and released. And it feels like a great time to talk about one of my favorite feuds in the history of music.
Yes.
Yes, I love this feud so much.
Which is not actually Faith No More versus Red Hot Chili Peppers, but way more Mike Patton versus Anthony Kiedis, which, like, what an easy choice on who to back between those two people. But this all stemmed from Anthony Kiedis insisting that Mike had stolen his style for the music video of Epic.
I can't imagine a style. That is the least likely style I would take from anyone ever in the history of taking someone's stage presence and look and style.
It's it's just
right
like
behind Steven Tyler also.
It's like every step of that is so funny to me. My favorite part is when Mr. Bungle did a Halloween set as the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which I think ended with Mike Patton pretending to die on stage from a drug overdose, which is pretty messed up.
I will say some of the Mr. Bungle stuff they did on stage did not age well.
No, very much not.
They had one guy being the ghost of Hillel Slovak, and they were like pretending to inject him with heroin and stuff. Like that. Yeah, that's
pretty brutal.
It a little far.
I would agree on that.
Yeah.
But again, I think the other thing I have to say about this feud continues to prove that the rest of Red Hot Chili Peppers, pretty cool guys, is the quote that I found from Flea about the whole thing, where he's just like, there's no fight between us. That's just a bunch of bullshit created by the media. They're a really good band. Maybe there are some things that are being said between Mike and Anthony, but that all means nothing to me.
That is a very Flea statement to make.
Flea is very zen. And also,
absolutely.
I think it's so funny to think about Anthony Kiedis in 1989 saying, "You stole my style." That's my style you're doing.
Very peculiar. And I'm not like a Red Hot Chili Peppers hater by any stretch of the imagination. I certainly spent my time with some of their records over the years. Certainly don't listen to them like I did when I was a kid. But the whole feud thing is so hilarious in that way of just the style.
And again, because not for nothing, this is still pre-Blood Sugar Sex Magic, when most people still didn't really give that much of a shit about Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, they just maybe had Mother's Milk the year prior that started to make people care about them. They weren't exactly blowing up the radio for Mike Patton to be like, I want to steal that iconic Kiedis sound.
I wonder, it's actually pretty wild to think about this. That's a good point that Blood Sugar Sex Magic wasn't out yet. That if Anthony Kiedis thought that he was doing an Anthony Kiedis thing and Epic went to number 9 on the charts, that Red Hot Chili Peppers might have been like, that might have been higher than any Red Hot Chili Peppers song had ever gone at that point.
I'm going to see where they were at that time.
There's nothing
I think you might be right.
Nothing on Mother's Milk would have been number 9 or higher. I don't even know if anything on Mother's Milk would have been in the top 40. They had that amazing song for Mother's Milk, Knock Me Down, which is so good. But I don't think it was till Blood Sugar Sex Magic that they broke through to mainstream success. So
No, they had absolutely no mainstream charting hits.
Okay.
Even Give It Away peaked at 73 on the Hot 100.
Okay.
But Under the Bridge got to number 2. So like Under the Bridge was their like explosion into the mainstream.
There's
so
a bit
I guess
of a
there
mad
would be a
dad.
bit of that. How dare they do
Yeah.
what we've been doing for years and be successful at it?
Exactly. There was a bit of a if you listen to The Real Thing, Angel Dust, like if you listen to Faith No More records too, in terms of their style, I think at that time there certainly was, I wouldn't say a mad dash or a rush with like rap, rock, funk, or whatever, but I think the diversity of Faith No More, songs like Epic, like they stand out in that when you take in a Faith No More record as a whole, you're not getting Epic 13 for the over the course of 45 minutes to an hour. They're I would put them more in a metal category than a funk, like a rap rock kind of thing that they started to cultivate back in the late 80s and early 90s.
I could see the Red Hot Chili Peppers like what that We Care a Lot. Like that is very much like early Red Hot Chili Peppers style, where it is kind of a little bit funky in like a weird way, but also rock. So yeah, I could see the rivalry here happening for sure. Yeah.
I could see the jealousy. I could see that two bands from a fairly from the same state are doing something similar, and one feels more ownership to it, but the other one gets famous first. And the feeling of jealousy and animosity
100%
for someone. But man, Epic comes out, becomes a top 10 hit, and 1999, what a year for Faith No More. 1990,
right?
What a year for them. They play the MTV Video Music Awards. They play Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
Mike's band gets Mr. Bungle gets signed as well, just based on how unexpectedly massive Faith No More is doing. People are wanting more Patton, and Slash Records was more than happy to put it out for him.
Yeah. Do you know who hosted Saturday Night Live when Faith No More played?
No.
Definitely a 5-timers club, maybe a 10-timers club.
Steve Martin?
Nope. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was in the 20-timers club, if such a thing exists. He hosted.
Couldn't have been Tom Hanks.
No.
Because he's too young.
Was it Alec Baldwin? Was this the same episode as Cantina Boy?
No, that's Canteen Boy, and no, John Goodman.
Yeah, he's a big one.
Yeah,
something that I do love, and this is from both Mr. Bungle, and then he clearly brought it into Faith No More, is Mike Patton's desire to do strange cover songs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which, if you're listening from some other countries, Epic might not even be the biggest song from Faith No More, they had a shit ton of success with their cover of Easy by the Commodores in other countries. And man, I love the song Easy so much.
And it's almost a verbatim. I was just talking to my friend Nate, who's a huge, before today, I'd spent over the weekend talking to a friend of mine, Nate, who is a huge Faith No More fan. He was feeding me all kinds of stuff, like little factoids about it. And Easy, they used it for a Levi's commercial, and Easy sounds almost like it is such a faithful cover of that song.
It's a faithful No More cover.
Yeah. Oh God, we went there.
Nice.
That's good.
I actually, it's one of the rare exceptions where I like the cover more than the original.
Oh yeah.
And what is probably the best part what is the best part about it? Let me just ask you that.
There's a little blur. There's a little extra zhuzh on one of the lines. I'm trying to
the thing that I'm
it.
referring to is when he gives the
yes.
It is so good.
Because they put that in the Levi's commercial.
It is
That's
so
how
good.
you know. Most people probably wouldn't have picked up on it being a cover of that song because it's so faithful no more to the original, to use Matt's words. But yeah,
that album Angel Dust, that's when I was at my Faith No More loving peak, because I loved Easy. It's funny, I had the cassette single of Easy as well as the album, but the cassette single of Easy had two, like the the silhouettes of two rhinoceroses mating on the cover of it.
That's
which is pretty
sounds like
fun.
a Bloodhound Gang cover.
Yeah,
It
right.
sounds exactly like a Bloodhound Gang album cover.
And that album, Angel Dust, has what I believe is the best Faith No More song, A Small Victory, which is, they had an MTV video for it and stuff, but it is so good. And that album did pretty well. It didn't do as well as The Real Thing. The Real Thing sold over 4 million copies worldwide. I think Angel Dust was slightly less than that. It still sold over 3 million. And then it was like progressively less and less with each album after that.
So from what I read, that what happened was Angel Dust did really well basically everywhere but the United States. It sold 665,000 copies in the U.S., which, I mean, look, I think anybody on this phone call would wake up happy if they sold 665,000 copies of their record. Yeah. But
there'd be
like when you're coming off of a top 10 hit, if you're coming off a top 10 hit just a couple of years prior, it definitely probably felt like a huge step down at that point.
Also, this is in the era where people actually went out and bought physical copies of things. Now if an artist sells 665,000 physical
they're
copies,
in the top five.
It's probably Taylor Swift, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
They lost their guitarist after this album, though. I'm going to use a direct quote from him, but he felt that the album Angel Dust was, quote, gay disco music.
Wow.
I don't hear it.
I don't hear it either.
Yeah, I don't either. According to the band, he was fired via a fax. But Martin says that he made a decision to leave and was in fact not fired.
Okay.
So,
yeah, their track record for how they get rid of members is pretty creative, and I'm here for it.
I have to say that I love that the members of Faith No More, the members of Faith No More have been keeping the fax machine business going, because later on in the story, in the 2000s, they announced their hiatus through emails and faxes.
That's awesome.
Like, I love their dedication to using the fax machine. But yeah, as you said, after that Angel Dust album, things really started to slow down. That album of the year record that I was talking about in 1997 was pretty negatively hated by the U.S. critics. Pitchfork, always very kind with their words, said, album of the year leaves one feeling like they woke up and found last night's used condom. Like, sure, the ride was probably fun while it lasted, but all that remains is something icky, and that you definitely don't want to put it inside your CD player.
Wow.
It's so brutal. Well, that's Pitchfork for you.
To promote that album, they went on tour with Limp Bizkit in 1997.
Oh.
Which
did they
would have
open,
been,
or were they the headliners?
I think they were headliners. I think that's pre $3 bill, y'all, at that point, or maybe like right after $3 bill, y'all.
It had to have been. I don't know why I asked that. That was a dumb question.
And then it said Limp Bizkit was frequently booed by the Faith No More fans. So
I could see that. Yeah.
You've got a great idea for a small business, but you just can't get it off the ground. You want to be your own boss, set your own hours. Well, new year means new opportunities, and Shopify's got you covered to help get your venture off the ground. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. You can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. And they help with the details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard. Don't kick yourself next holiday season when your 2025 resolution list looks the same as it does today. Make it happen with Shopify. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/income.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
If you had to pick one musical artist to listen to for the rest of your life, who'd you choose? Well, that's a fine thought. The rest of us would pick Willie Nelson. That's why I started the podcast One by Willie, a show in which I talk each week to one notable Willie fan about one Willie song that they really love. We've had guests you'd expect, like Miranda Lambert and Lyle Lovett, and others you might not, like Nick Offerman and Brene Brown. And what we've wound up with are uniquely personal looks at the life and art of a genuine American legend. I'm your host, John Spong. Y'all come check us out.
Hello, everyone. We're Superhero Stuff You Should Know. And if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance.
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
All right, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
By early 1998, they just mutually agreed to break up, and they played their last show in Portugal in April of 1998. And they canceled. They had a support tour for Aerosmith that they canceled.
I have to say, as I looked at a lot of who they toured with, a lot of it didn't make sense. I don't think they were picking the right bands to keep their momentum a lot of the time. Like, definitely they were getting on big tours, but like Limp Bizkit as your opener is a weird call. Faith No More opening for Aerosmith is also a really weird call. To me, like that seems like one of those shows where you either have the Aerosmith fans that bought all the tickets in advance and they're miserable during the Faith No More set, or you have like the Faith No More fans that bought tickets and then promptly leave before Aerosmith takes the stage. Like, it just seemed like a real genre clash there.
Yeah.
What bands do you think? I'm trying to think back on what bands they would have fit well with.
Right.
Red Hot
during
Chili
their
Peppers.
peak.
Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers is actually the answer. That's actually true, though. That's what's sad. Is like,
I mean, yeah,
they're a
I feel
little
like double
heavier.
stacking it.
They're a little heavier than Red Hot Chili Peppers, but that is who they would fit the best with. Who else?
Oh, yeah.
They could have worked with a couple of like the I think they could have worked with some of the like not quite hair metal rock bands. Like, I know that people hate this band, but I could see like Ugly Kid Joe sort of fitting in at a Faith No More lineup, or some of those like post grunge like 1990s, like them and the Butthole Surfers, I think would have made sense because they're both like experimental and weird. In a way, like I could see the crossover of fandom with that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I could see that even go backwards in like Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and stuff. You might be able to, because you can definitely hear some of the carryover of hair metal and some of the earlier, even in Real Thing and Angel Dust, like some of that carryover of hair metal.
Sure.
Yeah. The band is like reunited and went on hiatus multiple times throughout the last like 25 years. The biggest thing that kind of killed the band was COVID. They had a bunch of tours and dates planned for 2020 that kept getting canceled and rescheduled. And I think, according to what I read in an interview in 2022, Mike Patton basically said he hadn't really spoken to any of the members of Faith No More since the COVID show cancellations. It kind of left the band's future in question. And just a couple months ago, their keyboardist said like they're on a pretty semi-permanent hiatus right now.
So what? They broke up in 98, but they had just recently decided to get back together before COVID happened, you mean?
No. They've been playing reunion shows as far back as 2008.
Okay.
So from 2008 and on, they even put out a record, I want to say, in 2015.
Yeah, they did.
put out a new album.
I actually haven't listened to it.
Which I was kind of interested because it said the songs on the album were inspired by the sounds of the Cramps, Link Wray, and the Banshees. And I'm like, oh, so it's like a rockabilly sounding album? Like, I could be into Mike Patton's like psychobilly album. I'll listen to that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Mike Patton thing to say, or a Mike Patton kind of album. Well, it sounds a little bit like a little column A, a little column B.
his influences are insane when you read them, and we're going to get into that for a second. But before, I actually have a game for you guys. I have a Mike Patton game to play with you guys. But before we do that, I do want to talk about when Epic was number 9 on the charts. It was September 8th of 1990. The other songs that were on the charts, it went just above "Come Back to Me" from Janet Jackson, my girl Janet.
Yep.
Then 9, Epic. 8 was "Can't Live Without Your Love and Affection" from Nelson. Do you guys remember Nelson?
I don't. I mean, I was pretty young. 1990 or 89, I was 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was definitively 5 at this point.
Nelson were 2 identical twin blonde guys that had like hair down their back. They were like identical twin blonde hair metal guys. But
perfect.
Number
so
7,
like my aunt.
Number 7 at that moment was "Tonight" from New Kids on the Block. And even being a New Kids fan, I don't know what this song is. And it's so funny that Epic and New Kids were 2 spots away from each other on the charts. Number 6 was "Have You Seen Her" from MC Hammer. Number 5, "If Wishes Came True" from Sweet Sensation. I don't even know what that is. And number 4, "Unskinny Bop" from Poison. Number 3 was "Do Me" from Belle Biv DeVoe.
Oh, yes.
Hell yeah. Number 2 was "Release Me" from Wilson Phillips. And the number 1 song at that moment, when Epic reached its peak, was "Blaze of Glory" from Bon Jovi, which was from the Young Guns 2 soundtrack.
I had also wrote down what some of the debuts were when it peaked. At 62, "In Excess" with "Suicide Blonde."
Okay.
Chris, one of your first records. At 72, "Vanilla Ice" with Ice Ice Baby.
Oh, it's on the come up.
Yep. At 90, Motley Crue, "Same Old Situation," SOS, which I believe was from like one of the only albums without Vince Neil on vocals. I want to say that was right around that time. 94 was Billy Idol, "LA Woman," and probably the most famous song besides Ice Ice Baby. At 97, Warrant Cherry Pie had just entered the Billboard charts.
That is an eclectic mix of hits and debuts.
Yes.
I got a few more.
Now,
I got a few more
go
to
ahead.
note, Matt. "Jerk Out" from The Time was number 14 at this moment.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
That is such a funny song. "Something Happened on the Way to Heaven" from Phil Collins, which is probably my favorite Phil Collins song, was 17.
You love that song.
"The Power" from Snap was at 28. I got
It's
the
all that too.
power. And the one last song I wanted to note, I can't believe this band was in the Hot 100. "Banned in the USA" from Luke featuring 2 Live Crew at that
That's
moment.
awesome.
I'm also going to just say I would have gone to a Faith No More / Snap show. I think that would have been a fun. I think that would have been a fun vibe. Chris, before we go into the game, the 2 most recent times that someone had covered or reimagined Epic, to my knowledge, was actually in 2023. The Lucid, featuring Violent J of Insane Clown Posse,
Nice.
Oh, no way.
released a reimagined version of Epic called Sweet Tooth, keeping the music unchanged but rewriting all the lyrics and vocal melodies, except for a callback to the original chorus and the outro. And the other most notable version of Epic that I can recall was roughly 5 years ago when Another Cheetah ended their set with a cover of Epic.
That's a band I play in called Another Cheetah. We would always close our show. We'd let the opening ring out, and then we'd break into Epic.
That's awesome.
To close our sets. So yes, we would. We wouldn't get to actually the rapping verses of it. We would just play that part. But that is a very fun song to play.
I got to hear this. I got to hear this other version that includes Violent J from ICP, because I'm going to just go ahead and throw myself in front of my own bus and say that I think there are quality Insane Clown Posse
John,
moments
you are in a safe
there.
space because
So
the
good.
2 of us are equally down with the clown.
You're talking to a couple
good.
juggalos.
Okay, good. All right. So whoop whoop. I just solved ICP.
One of our regular guests created a YouTube series called Juggalo Ohio about juggalos in Ohio
that's
that
what's
you
up. I
may
haven't
need to
seen
check
that
out.
I do, and I just saw them at a Christmas. They did like a Christmas thing in Columbus, Ohio, and I heard mention of that of Juggalo Ohio, and there was a lot of like people repping Juggalo Ohio stuff. But yeah, I just saw them a couple weeks ago.
Wow, that is awesome. I didn't realize you were down with the clown. That is so cool.
I am down with the clown. I know.
Yeah,
It's,
listen, those original Joker cards are, to use a pun, no joke. Those are 6 really good albums.
when you both reached out, when you reached out, Chris, you were like, "Hey, here's a list of some songs to choose from. If you don't," and then of course you were like, "If you have any suggestions," I was going to suggest. I swear, I was going to suggest an ICP song, except I don't think they really had any hits per se. They just had their moment in popularity.
Yeah.
Like that was within Great Malenko and then Jekyll Brothers. So. But yeah, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, arguably, probably their most famous song now is that "Miracles" one. Like,
yeah, that's true.
For all the wrong reasons.
It's so funny that my girlfriend's son is 12 years old and started getting into ICP because of me. and
awesome.
At one point, him and I were watching YouTube on the TV. I'm like, "Hey, do you want to watch the ICP performance from Woodstock 99? He's like, yeah, we put it on. And I'm not kidding you, on YouTube. I don't know how. I guess maybe people just weren't checking it. There are naked girls on YouTube on the ICP performance. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll turn this off. And I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it's the art is art thing where it's
there
like,
is like a weird loophole though, because Troma Pictures has every one of their movies on their YouTube page, and their movies are most notable for gore and boobies.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm glad we took that detour.
Yeah, no, that was a great detour.
We're all
it's a safe
we're all
space
down with
over
the
here at
clown.
One
I
Hit
love
Thunder.
that.
Yes. I feel closer
Book
to
us
you
at
now,
the
John.
Gathering, guys. Our podcast should be at the Gathering.
Oh yeah,
I've
John,
said it
have you
before.
ever gone to the Gathering? You're an
I've
Ohio
come very
guy.
close. Yeah, there was a year that Danny Brown, who's one of my favorite rappers, was playing at the Gathering. I've always wanted to go, and I've probably had 3 or 4 opportunities to go with people. Like now, if I went, it would be like me and one other person. But it's the 25th anniversary this year. I feel like it's probably, as long as it's in Ohio, it's been in Ohio for probably the last 5 years. Yeah, it would be hard for me to not try to make an effort to get out to a Gathering this year, especially with it being so close to where
Chris,
I live.
one last ICP thing. Can you guess which former guest of One Hit Thunder has performed at the Gathering of the Juggalos?
I have not performed a Gathering. It wasn't me.
A former guest of our show performed at the Gathering. Yeah. Just tell me.
Mega Ran.
Oh, nice. That makes sense. Why not?
Yeah, Mega Ran and MC Lars performed at the Gathering like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome. I've performed for ICP at an ICP event, which is that's a story for a whole nother podcast. But
nice.
So tangentially, 2 guests now have performed at least in the presence of ICP.
In the presence
of
that's amazing.
And
that's
have
awesome. All right,
batteries
sorry,
thrown at
Chris. We've fully detracked it. You've got some trivia for us.
I got a game for you guys. I mean, basically, I have some Mike Patton related questions, and you guys can compete against each other. Do you want some sort of way to buzz in? Or, I don't know. I was trying to think of a clever Mike Patton way to buzz in. But you can just say, I got it. And if you miss it, you get -1. So
maybe a raised hand. I don't know what the latency is on between us, but
I'll call on whoever raises their hand first. For our audio listeners, I will call out who raises their hand. But hey, don't try to answer it if you don't know it. You'll get -1 if you miss it. That's the only thing.
Oh shit.
Okay.
I have a strong feeling that John will dominate because he spent most of this episode talking about his Mike Patton fandom.
Lust.
So.
Okay. Here we go. In 1998, Mike Patton formed this avant-garde metal/grindcore band with Buzz Osborne of the Melvins, Trevor Dunn of Mr. Bungle, and Dave Lombardo of Slayer. John?
Is it Fantomas?
That's right. You got it.
Okay, I got it.
He's up 1-0. Did you know that, Matt?
No.
Okay.
I was going to go with another name that happened to show up in my notes.
Okay.
But it was incorrect.
All right. John's up 1-0.
I don't know if I pronounced it right.
Man has far too many bands.
I would say Fantomas, but I think I was corrected once. So I just
watched so many YouTubes this morning trying to figure out how to pronounce the band. I don't know if it's Fantomas or what, but couldn't figure it out. Question 2. In 1999, Mike Patton formed this rock band with Dwayne Dennison, former guitarist of the Jesus Lizard. John's thinking about raising it. Okay, John, go ahead.
That wasn't Tomahawk, was it?
That was Tomahawk. He's up 2.
God damn it! That was the only. That was the one that was in my notes, but it was mentioned in 2013.
All right. John's up 2-0. In 2002, Mike Patton performed vocals for this metalcore band's 2002 EP, Irony is a Dead Scene. John.
Oh my God, why can't the Dillinger Escape Plan?
You got it. 3-0.
Yeah. For some reason, I wanted to say Dismemberment Plan, which is a totally different band. But
if you combine Dismemberment Plan and Dillinger 4, you get the Dillinger Escape Plan. Okay.
Yes, I would watch that.
In 2004, Mike Patton worked with beatboxer Rozelle on the album Medulla for what artist?
Yeah, nothing.
Wow. Neither of you guys know this?
Is this Cool Keith? No.
No. It's Bjork.
Oh, Bjork.
Oh,
it's the all-vocal Bjork album, which actually, watching the documentary about the making of that, reignited my love for Mike Patton because he is so amazing on that album. Just the crazy stuff he sings on that album is awesome.
I need to listen to it. I've never heard it. I'm not a huge Bjork fan, but I think it's
oh man, all that ICP love and bonding just went out the window.
Dude, Bjork is my all-time favorite artist, and that is an all-vocal album. It's Bjork, Mike Patton, and Rozelle, and it is freaking incredible. It is.
I'll check it out.
It is so good. Medulla. Okay, you're still up 3-0, John. In 2006, Mike Patton released his Peeping Tom album on his own label. One of the people he collaborated with on this album was what early 2000s Grammy Award-winning female artist?
I'm just going to wing it because there's no way I can win.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
Was it Norah Jones?
You got it.
Oh, nice.
It's 3-1. Matt, don't count yourself out. We still got a bunch of questions left. It's 3-1, John. Mike Patton made a cameo as Ricky Kicks on what Adult Swim show in 2008?
2008.
Matt, go ahead.
I'm going to say Tim and Eric.
That is incorrect. You're back to 0.
Okay.
And
I'm not guessing.
John's not guessing. That was actually
I don't know it.
That was actually Metalocalypse.
Oh my God! Why would I not at least throw that out as a guess? I just saw them recently too.
Metalocalypse?
Deathclaw.
Yeah, they tour.
Wow, that's cool.
I saw them at Necrogoblicon, another quirky metal band that I love.
Nice. Question 7. John is still up 3-0. Mike Patton provided the voices of the monsters in what 2007 Will Smith movie?
Oh,
go ahead, John.
I Am Legend.
You got it.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't believe you got that over Matt. I thought that was right up Matt's alley.
I think I was thinking 2017 because I was almost going to say After Earth.
All right, so John is dominating, but we still got a few questions to go. In 2021, Mike Patton lent his voice to a remake of what 1987 theme song when it was released as the trailer for a video game? John?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You got it. Wow.
Okay.
John's up 5-0. Mike Patton is able to identify or recreate a given musical note without the benefit of a reference tone, which is otherwise known as what? John, go ahead.
I'm going to lose a point. Perfect pitch. That's
you
not
got it.
Oh, I did? Nice. I thought it was called something more technical.
6-0, John. Wow.
I'm just enjoying the questions.
Right.
It really makes me appreciate Mike Patton.
Yeah, he's awesome.
When asked about his influences and favorite singers in 1992, Mike Patton mentioned Frank Sinatra, Elton John, HR from Bad Brains, Chet Baker, and John Tardy of what Tampa death metal band?
Damn it. I wish I knew this, and I don't.
I can't even.
That's the Jeopardy sound effect. That would be Obituary.
Oh, shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 2 more questions. You can't win, Matt, but you can.
Well, John, you won.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right. Maybe you'll get this. Maybe you have a chance at this one, Matt. Among the records that have impacted Mike Patton the most vocally, he cites The Secret Life of Plants, a 1979 album from what legendary artist? Matt, go ahead.
Stevie Wonder.
You got one. So 6-1. And that's my last question is irrelevant because it's something we talked about in the episode already because it was for over 30 years. Mike Patton has been involved in an ongoing feud with who. So congratulations, John. You crushed it. And we only have two things left to do. One is, John, you got to tell people what's going on with the Dopamines. John plays in an amazing band called the Dopamines. If you haven't heard his episode of Krista Makes a Podcast where he discusses the writing and recording of Public Domain from the Dopamines, you should go check that out. But what do you got going on, man? You still have a relatively new album in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and we'll pretend it's relatively new for the next 5 years,
Yes.
probably.
Good.
But we put out a record called 80/20. We did a tour down to Gainesville Fest this year, or last year. This year, we're kind of peppering some stuff. We're going to Belgium for a couple days here in April. We have a New York City show coming up in the beginning of February in Baltimore. It's a little weekend, but just kind of peppering things in ourselves before kind of trying to take advantage of a few opportunities, hopefully in the summer. But I mean, other than that, worked hard on that record, so we're really stoked, and it seemed to be received well. We're that kind of band where, like, if you don't have something nice to say, then don't say it. We're not popular enough where, like, people are like, fuck this band. They usually do it amongst themselves. So, like, as far as reception, I saw a lot of positive reception for the record, which is very humbling and stoked because it was a fun record to do.
I love it. Dude, I got to tell you, your band is a band that I had heard about. I've heard your name forever, okay? And I unfairly assumed because you were the and a word with an S at the end, that's one of two things usually. It's either like a, in the early 2000s.
Ramones core.
You had a lot of the New York sounding bands, the hip bands that had the blank S type bands, or there were a lot of bands that are like the Ramones-ish type things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You guys aren't either of those.
Yeah. I mean, it's buried in the, without all the thes with S's at the end of it, where there wouldn't be a Dopamines. But yeah, as far as where we pluck ourselves into the pop punk stratosphere, I would say we're on the edges of the on the fringe.
You guys are more aggressive than what I would picture. I wouldn't even necessarily describe you guys as pop punk. I would describe you guys as punk rock. But even I mean, I guess we're all pop punk to that the fact that we have melodies and things. But
of course.
But you guys scratch the aggressive itch that I love in punk rock, and I've become a huge fan of your band. I
appreciate it. So the key is to not listen to pop punk and only listen to metal and hip hop. That's been my move for probably the last decade.
Yeah, I love it. I feel the metal influence in some of your songs, and I love it. The aggression is what I love about the Dopamines, and very, very cool band. If you guys haven't heard the Dopamines, check them out. And we only have one more thing to do here is to decide. This sounds ridiculous. Faith No More, Thunder or Blunder? We'll start with you, John.
All right. It's a Thunder, obviously, just based on everything around how great the band is beyond this song, as far as I think anyone's opinion of Faith No More, and using this song as like their one big hit. I think it'd be hard to find someone who isn't a fan of this song, also a fan of everything behind it. And I would be scared to say that this is a blunder.
Yeah. Matt?
I mean, I'm also going to go with Thunder. I feel like the only thing that could even remotely be like said is a blunder is that I don't think the song Epic even remotely captures the full scale and scope of the actual sound of Faith No More. Yeah. Like, it almost feels like a novelty song within what they normally do. But, I mean, that's just like being nitpicky. It's obviously Thunder. Like, it's the most obvious
you're totally
Thunder
right.
we've had in a while.
I guess we're going to send Mike Patton his certification, as well as the rest of the guys, because this is certified Thunder. This is a triple Thunder. I mean, obviously, this is one of those episodes like when we did Mighty Mighty Bosstones. It's like, this is a legendary band that had one song that kind of popped, but Yeah, absolutely. And Mike Patton, even beyond Faith No More, just a legendary artist that it's crazy not to call that. Although I do disagree. I don't think that Epic is like some anomaly from their catalog. I still think that Epic, in my opinion, is like one of their top 3 best songs. I still think that.
Oh, no, I'm not saying. I just think it doesn't. I think that their sound is so wide stretching and different across the board that someone could easily hear this and think it's just a Red Hot Chili Peppers funk rock band, and they're much more than that.
Yeah,
is what I meant.
And on the inverse of that, you could play somebody a Faith No More song and they wouldn't even know it's Faith No More because it is so far away from Epic.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
Well, we'll send that certification to Mike Patton, and I hope when he opens it, he says, "What is it?"
Yeah. Oh God! Perfect. How long have you been waiting for that moment?
Perfect. For an hour, just sitting here for an hour.
I'm waiting for you to say I know you better than you think. But did I plan for this to happen? I claimed I could hold you closer than know you better than.
This has been One Hit Thunder. One Hit Thunder is hosted by Chris Fafalius of the band Punchline and produced by Matt Kelly of Geekscape.net. Underneath me, you're hearing Power Off from the Punchline Rewind EP. Visit punchlinemusic.com for any upcoming news on the band. Our podcast is on Patreon now. Find us at patreon.com/OHT podcast for early access to episodes, bonus conversations, and a chance to vote on future songs for us to cover. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on any podcasting app. And tune in next week for more One Hit Thunder.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
Hi, this is Chad Nicefield.
And this is Justin Press.
We're the host of Making Waves, the Shiprock podcast, a part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. We're inviting you to sail away with us on an epic journey in musical enlightenment. Every week, we bring you only the best artists in rock music and discuss everything from the cruise, to the stage, to the saga of being a professional recording artist. We'll have lots of special guests along the way, so tune in every week.
Your stateroom is available every Monday morning, so welcome aboard.
Bowie, Dylan, Marley. You've heard the names and maybe you've heard their songs, but what about the stories behind the records that made titans of music like these so universally loved and important? Join me, Josh Adam Myers, host of The 500, as each week I go through a different album from Rolling Stone magazine's 500 Greatest Albums list from 2012 with an incredible lineup of comedians, actors, and musicians talking about how the music has impacted their lives. New episodes of The 500 come out every Wednesday. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello out there.
Hi, I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. We want to tell you about our podcast, None But the Brave, which is dedicated to taking a deep dive into the work of Bruce Springsteen.
We're currently in our 5th season. Our latest episodes focus heavily on Bruce's 2024 tour and have featured such guests as Anthony Castrovince from MLB Network and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
We're also covering the 40th anniversary of Bruce's biggest record, Born in the USA. And as part of that, coming up this week, Uprock's cultural critic Stephen Hyden returns to the show for a fascinating hour-long conversation about his new book, There Was Nothing You Could Do, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA and the End of the Heartland.
To listen, you can go to our website, mbtbpodcast.com, or subscribe on your preferred podcasting platform.
We hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be